Welcome to the African Leadership Series, where we bring you great inspirational speeches of African leaders.
Affecting your ability to produce food, affecting your ability to buy food, because the costs continue to rise. And now that it is compounded by the realities of the pandemic and the realities of the war in Ukraine, we expect, regrettably, that there will be difficult times, that there will be increases in prices continuing. And I say to you, the people of Ghana, that in the same way that we have in Barbados, to explain to our people that the cost of living that now chokes so many of our people is regrettably not national, but global in nature. For we only need to look at the impact that will be happening soon as we get our next shipments of oil, as we get our next shipments of food, as we get our ability to negotiate whether we can in fact get the shipping arrangements to receive that which we want to buy. But we know that we come from a proud and resilient people. And not even the combination of the pandemic and the climate crisis and the consequences of aggression in Ukraine can cause us to bow and to lose focus. Yes, the times will be hard, but our ancestors have shown us that even in hard times, we can rise above this and hold firm to the view that we are a resilient and dominant people, capable of moving strong ahead. It is for that reason, Mr. President, that when we look at the global architecture and the lack of fairness in the structure of it, we too echo your own cause and that of others, that the African Union should be given a chance to become part of the global leadership if it is to be legitimate and if it is to be morally accepted by us all. The G20 cannot remain 20. The G20 must become the G21. For we know that in the African Union you constitute the 5th largest economy in the world with just under 3 trillion in production on an annual basis. And we know that the 1.3 billion people of this continent actually have the greatest demographic dividend to be reaped in the 21st century, with the largest percentage of young people on the planet Earth today to be found on the continent of Africa. If there is to be a future for these young people in Africa, then that future must be shaped not just by those who tell us what to do, but must also be shaped by those who experience what it is to provide for the 1.3 billion people on this continent. My friends, we stand in solidarity and in unity with you on these great issues. And I can do no better than to quote your own founder leader in his wise words as he addressed the OAU summit in May of 1963, when your president said, and I quote, "Do we have any other weapon against this design but our unity? Is not our unity essential to guard our own freedom as well as to win freedom for our oppressed brothers, the freedom fighters? Is it not unity alone that can weld us into an effective force capable of creating our own progress and making a valuable contribution to world peace? We must stand united now more than ever. And the calls to remove a member of the P5 this week only serve to remind us of the absolute injustice and inequity of the P5, the permanent 5 in the Security Council in the first place. And that is why we say there can be no first-class or second-class nations of the world. It came to a head, an absolute head, when the one that was given the power to veto literally this week ensured that that veto literally made the United Nations almost useless in its capacity to save the people of Ukraine as they faced down the weapons of Russia. We say today that it is not only there that there must be change. We ask the world to also recognize that the international financial institutions cannot accept that two countries, namely Greece and Ghana, can go to the market to borrow money, have the same credit rating, but Greece must be able to borrow, and regrettably, at a fraction of what Ghana must now pay for the cost of capital. That is and cannot be part of a fair and just world in the 21st century. And why must it change? Because in a very real sense, even though we settled the individual rights to protect each and every one of us, at the formation of the United Nations, we preserved an old colonial order of empires having the right to determine what the global community should look like. We now know that it does not work. And we now know that the time has come to work together to change it for the betterment of the nations of the world altogether, yes, but in particular for the betterment of the people of our nations who were suppressed and colonized, regrettably, for too long. My friends, I ask us also to recognize that in today's world, technology makes geography and size almost irrelevant. And therefore it gives us that unique opportunity, and certainly as we have done in the Caribbean and in my own country, to assert that the time has come to reclaim our Atlantic destiny, that the time has come for strong strategic leadership. It is emotional. We are conscious that those who put your family in those castles, those horror houses, whether here or in Gorée, did it because they simply did not see you, hear you, or care for you, and did it solely for the purpose of profit and solely for the purpose of power and dominion. It is regrettable that those same motives are showing themselves on the landscape of the world today. And if ever there is a people who can speak out against it with a moral authority, if ever there is the capacity for global moral strategic leadership, Mr. President, it must come from those of us who are affected on both sides of the Atlantic, those of you who lost brothers and sisters, and those of us whose great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents suffered the indignity of being treated less than human. We have come to this point today to say to these young people who sit opposite me that it must never happen again.
If you like more African speeches like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to catch all our latest videos. Remember to leave your suggestions on the topics you would like us to cover in the comments below.